Hey, Poodle family, here we are. We are back. It is Wednesday. It is our weekly live show, and I have not been so excited about a show in a really long time. Like, I was giddy about this one for at least the past, few days, or I think I even started tweeting it out over the weekend. And I will tell you, though, this episode, getting prepared for it, both made me excited about where we're at. It also got me really angry as well. And I think you're going to see why. Okay. I've been pushing some numbers around, trying to look at our projections, been doing a lot of research about our token. And it's one of those things, and I'm going to show you. We're going to get to the math. I've got graphs and charts today, everybody. So get ready to fall asleep. No, you're going to see how close we are to really putting this token at a whole other level. And yet, we're the ones who keep knocking it back down, right? It's all on us. And so hopefully you take a look at what I'm going to show you today, and we're going to be able to recognize how we can get together and really take our token to the next level. We are so close. The numbers show it. So this is both going to be about our token, but also hopefully this is a little bit of education. I'm on a college campus today, so we're going to do a little bit of education with this as well. So with no further ado, here we go. Let me get this all set here. Turn off this one. Boom. All right. We should get I got PowerPoint and everything, everyone. We got PowerPoints and everything. Okay, so I got way too many windows open, so I'm just going to have the chat kind of off to the side and hope that this works, okay? As I talk through this, I'm going to bury my main screen behind me, but here we go. All right, so a little bit here. This is good. All right. I'm going to build up. I'm going to explain a few different things, and then we're going to talk about kind of where we going to go, and kind of how we can take our token to the next level if we just band together. So a little bit to understand about how a token it works and how you can buy it, where we are right now, and where we want to go, right? We see a lot of people on the Telegram going, how can we get on, crypto.com? How can we get on Coinbase? How do you get on these main exchanges? And I know we're on some exchanges, but mostly it is done off the liquidity pool, which is, a Pancake Swap or the other swaps, but really obviously the main one where we have most of our liquidity is in Pancake Swap. So essentially there are two different ways you can buy something. You can do it off of the first one, which is really from the pool. Think of it this way. When our token was created, all the tokens got distributed, correct? Now there is a pool which people can buy from, right? As you notice, if you got into this like from a regular way of purchasing tokens, like on a Binance or whatever, you notice that you can do a swap, like where you can pick a buy order and a sell order if someone has to actually accept your offer, or you can go into the market and just drop it into a pool. That's essentially what the liquidity pool is. Let's call it a bucket, a leftover bucket of tokens that you can just buy from and you also sell to, right? So think of it this way. That's really where we are right now. We are buying and selling out of a bucket, right? When you want to go on Pancake Swap and you want to pick up 1 billion tokens, you are the buyer. You are taking it out of the bucket, putting your money into it, right? That ends up growing the pool. Now, if you were to sell, which we don't like, you're taking your tokens, you're putting them back in the bucket, right? It's kind of this empty little thing where we take from and we put to. You don't need somebody else to help you with the transition, right? And so what we start to notice is if the same number that comes out and the same number goes in, that's how we pretty much have our price stabilize. It makes sense, right? This is basic supply and demand. This is how I'm going to get into actually, the topic is, does holding actually work? And it does. But we have to understand how the bucket works, right? Right now, we're taking the bucket. If the bucket, if the amount in the bucket decreases, right, then the value of what's left in the bucket has more value. If what's in the bucket has more, then obviously the value inside of it is less, okay? So what happens is a stable price, which of course is good. You'd rather have a stable price than an unstable price. You obviously want an increasing price, is done that way because essentially what happens is we seem to be in this game right now where we have somebody buy, the price goes up, and then we have too many people selling and it brings it back down. Basically, people thinking, oh, I want to take the quick profit, or bots, things along those lines. This is where we are. This is the limbo game that we're playing right now, where we're taking out, but we're also putting back in. Now, at some point, what we want to be able to do is get past that. So you should know, we have about 3.3 trillion tokens that are left in this bucket, okay? Out of the 100 trillion, which is not a lot, to tell you the truth, only about 3.3% of the entire pool of tokens that are left are in this bucket. It's actually a really small amount of tokens, okay? So what will happen, or what would happen, if we just started taking from this bucket? If everybody started selling but nobody was putting back in, or everybody started buying but nobody was selling and putting it back in, and you just had buying, and there's only 3.3 trillion tokens left, what would happen at that point? That's where we get to the second way. That's using buy and sell orders. Essentially, it's like this. You get a seller and a buyer. And so obviously the women are the smart ones, so they're going to be the buyers, and the men are the dumb ones, and we're the sellers. So essentially what you get is you get the one saying, hey, I would like some tokens, please. Sure, for this amount of money. Just great, sweet deal. Done. You buy. Essentially, if you've gone on Binance, you've gone on any of your main exchanges, you've gone on, Coinbase or whatever, you've probably seen where you can actually go in and do buy and sell, right? As opposed to just a market where you're just dropping it. And in fact, the prices are better if you do a buy and sell as opposed to dumping it into the main bucket of market, right? Essentially, that's exactly how it's working. The exchange is serving as your buy and sell. You are saying, I am willing to sell my tokens at a certain price, or I'm willing to buy tokens when they're at a certain price. The exchange takes care of that for you, and that's exactly then how you gain your tokens, right? You're all actually used to that. It's how the stock market works, okay? It's really how most investing works. So currently, we are over on the, using the bucket side. When the bucket runs out of tokens, we end up on the buy-sell order side. This is where, again, as people, you will have somebody who will need to buy it from you, okay? Even though you could always sell and drop in the bucket, you're not going to get as good of a rate. You ideally want someone to buy from you. Hopefully this makes sense so far. So now, how does this have to do with money? How does this have to do with where we are on our tokens, our price? How does it impact price? And I think this is what's really important to note. Okay, so I started looking at this, and just so you know, I ran these numbers this morning, okay, at 7:35 a.m. Pacific time. So essentially just shy of, 4.5 hours ago, just shy of 5 hours ago, I ran these numbers, okay? So these are the most up-to-date-ish numbers, okay? Let me show you where the money goes. Here's the money. It's pretty simple. If right now you wanted to go buy 1 million tokens, it would cost you about 5 cents. And I'm doing this in dollars, with the price change being less than 1/100%. So what you'll understand how this works is, if I were to take 1 million tokens out of the pool that's available for 3.3 trillion, and now we're only take $1 million out of there. I'm going to be able to buy it for 5 cents, and I'm going to change the price by less than 1%, less than 1/100%, almost nothing. Okay, does that make sense? So the next person who would buy after me would basically be buying at about the same price. Okay, now let's say I wanted to buy 10 million tokens. Cost me 55 cents. It changes the price by about 1/100%. So far, so good. Go with me on this. You can tell this is going to be a lot of numbers, but they're going to get exciting. You're going to notice this. So 100 million tokens, $5.55. Okay. You change the price by about 0.1%. Billion tokens, $56 right now. $56, price adjustment of 1%. Now, I want you to start to notice something is happening here. Very little. You didn't notice it till we hit about $1 billion. You should have expected $1 billion to be $55.50, but it is not, right? It is $56. And that's because it was a larger percentage. A chunk has come out of the bucket, creating a more obvious price change. All right. So next up, 10 billion tokens comes out, cost you $568.75. Notice that we have also increased. So we're at about 1.8%. Also, side note, I think this one's a little off. I think someone had a buy or a sell right when I was hitting this number, because it was the only one that kind of didn't match up exactly with everything else. Just to note, again, a little bit of a change, a little bit more of a percentage change. 100 billion tokens. This was the biggest change. You would have expected to be 5,600, but it is not. It's 5,800. So we had a $200 difference has now happened, and a price change, as an adjustment of 3%. So far, so good. Hopefully you're all with me here. This is actually kind of where we are right now. So I want to pause for a minute. We actually see a lot of buy and sell orders within this range. Have you noticed that we can actually have someone sell 100 billion and it doesn't impact us that much? In fact, what it impacts us by is 3% at the current rate. It's not actually a lot. And then when people are buying 20, 30 billion, they're selling, buying 30. So we're not getting a lot of change. So we can handle these numbers right now. This is where it starts getting interesting. What if I wanted to jump, and I'm going to do 500 billion. I want to place an order right now for 500 billion tokens. This is where it starts to get fun, because again, 5 times, 100 billion times 5 should have been, 25,000, just shy of, 30,000, but it's now 33,000. Okay. Almost 15% price adjustment. What I want you to understand too, is this dollars when you're buying it. These are dollars that are going into the pool, right? So someone is taking the tokens out and throwing this money into it if you were to buy that much. Next, 1 trillion tokens. Someone were to buy 1 trillion tokens. Again, we now get a major change. This is where you're going to start to get about 30% change in value. Again, if you would have thought 500 times 2, should have been 66,000, but it is now 81,000. Now, why is this happening? This is happening because if I were to take 1 billion tokens out of the pool, remember, I only have 3.3 trillion available, and I were to now take 1 trillion out. I've taken almost a third of the available amount out. Go with me on that. Hence the almost 30% change. And so therefore, the lesser supply makes the ones remaining more valuable. Makes sense? Hopefully so good. All right, let's keep going. What if I took we had a purchase for 1.5 trillion out of the liquidity pool? It would cost that person at this moment $155,000 to do this. And they would actually be taking almost half of the pool, right? They would be if there's 3.3 trillion, they bought 1.5 trillion. They're taking just shy. They're taking 45% of our available pool. It would cost them about $155,000. Again, notice the biggest change from there, right? If you would have thought from the 500,000 to 1.5 or 500 billion, to 1.5 trillion should have been 3 times, should have been 99,000, but we actually gained an extra 50,000. You starting to notice a trend here? This is getting exciting. This is where you're going to start. You're going to enjoy this. Boom. Only 500 billion more. And we just almost doubled that up. It is now at 285. So if somebody wanted to buy 2 trillion of our 3.2 trillion or 3.3 trillion left, it would cost them $285,000 to do that. Okay? But so think about that. Let's stop for a second. Let's go back to where we had $1 billion. Okay? And we had $1 billion that was only $56. If you were to multiply that out, by the amount, essentially, 2,000 times, you shouldn't have ended up with that amount of money. So it's starting to get exponential, because what would happen if someone bought 2 trillion? There would only be 1.5 trillion or 1.3 trillion left in the pool. Here we go. 2.5 trillion. Someone were to come in and buy 2.5 trillion tokens of our pool left. It's going to cost them $575,000. So notice this is now, look at the price change. 75% of our value just changed. So if you would have thought at 2 trillion plus add the 500 billion, right, should have gotten you at 300. And so if you would have bought 500 billion at 33,000 and you would have bought 2 trillion at 285,000, it should have been 300 and something. No, we got an extra 200,000 thrown in there. Now, to understand, this does not mean buy smaller amounts. This is what's left of the pool. This is if you're taking a percentage out of the pool. If at 2.5 trillion were to come out of our remaining 3.3, we are now down to 800 billion only left in the pool. So now, this is where it gets fun. What happens? So if we were to, let's say we had angel investors. We had people who could come in and say, I'm willing to invest that 500,000 and I'm going to take 2.5 trillion out of your available pool, leaving only 800 billion left. Look back at the chart, 500,000 or 500 billion plus 1 billion plus 1 billion. We could have bought it before that point at around, $50,000. How about that? If someone were to buy that jump to 3 trillion tokens, would cost $1,775,000. So in other words, it would cost $1.2 million for that additional 500 billion. Let me say that again. It would cost $1.2 million to buy the extra 500,000 that right now today you could buy for $33,000 when our pool gets down there. So you're starting to see what's happening to the price, right? I think you're following me with this. It's basic supply and demand. Ready to have some real fun? What if we were to buy 3.3? I told you there's 3.3 trillion left in there. It would cost $34,621,000 with a price impact of 98.96%. Just to buy out that 3.3 trillion. So imagine our liquidity pool right now has about $300,000 in it, right? Means if every token were to sell, you could only get 300 something thousand. This adds 34 million, gets us to 35 million in the liquidity pool. Does that make sense? I'm not done yet. It's not that there's actually 3.3. There's a little extra. This is where it really gets fun. You want to be part of the $1 billion club? Here we go. What if we had 3.31? That almost doubles. 10 billion more. That 10 billion, okay? That 10 billion that will cost $568 today. Go look back. 10 billion is $568 today. Would cost a difference of $44 million when we get to sell those tokens not available. Still getting fun. Okay, there's still a little bit left in the pool from there. So what happens with that $5 billion? So we have, we were to sell 3.315 billion, $214 million. So that $5 billion that today would cost $250 would now actually cost those buyers to buy that pool almost 3 times. We're talking $150 million. All right. We're going, you all see how big this chart is. We're going to get down to the very last token available, okay? So hang on with me. This is where it gets fun. How about, it's actually 3.317. That 2 billion difference from 5 to 7, 2 billion just was another $400 million. $400 million has to go into that pool because of the scarcity of the token. Okay? What about that extra 500 million? 500 million today is $25. Takes us to the $1.5 billion mark. There it is. We are part of the billion club right there. Just to sell that last 3.3175 trillion tokens gets us into the billion club. And you realize that, just that difference. Think about how much right now, 500 million, that's $25 to buy it right now, has a true value at that point of $900 million. Ready? Oh, I mean, there's actually a 6 there. That next 100 million, $5.55 worth, is now worth an extra $500,000. Let me rephrase that. That extra 100 million, that's now $5.55 today, is worth another 500 million at that point. How about the next 100 million? Is worth almost an entire million more. How about the next 70 million left? Again, 70 million it's the $3.50 today, is worth 1.5 million more. Okay, so let me hear that. 70 million you can buy for $4, $3.50 today, will be worth 1.5 million when we get to that point. How about that last? How about this next? This is the amazing. How about that 10 million? There's a reason I started at the 1 million, 10 million. 10 million, 55 cents today. 55 cents today is $6 million jump in our valuation because of the scarcity of the token. And here it is. What if every last token was taken? 84. Oh, sorry. I said 6 million. That was a $6 billion difference. Why am I saying millions? These are $1 billion differences. If we sold every single last token in our pool, we would have a valuation of $84,255,900. So do you recognize that? So we jumped to the billion club, to the 500 million, to 2 million, to 3 billion, or sorry, 2 billion, to 3 billion, to 4.5 billion, to 10 billion, to $84 billion. That is incredible. Okay. So space, you just asked a good question. What kind of function is this? I'm up on you. I'm ready for you there. So what does this say about the price? So this is what we have to recognize. Let's look at where we are right now. Remember how I started by saying we don't mind changing exchanging the 10 billion. We can handle a 20 billion sale. People buy and sell 10 billion, 5 billion, 100 billion every now and then comes through, and we don't like it, but it actually doesn't impact, right? Well, imagine what that would mean. The value at that point, you're going to have less people buying it, but does that mean the price actually is not linear? All right. This is the way we think of it. Okay, this is what we have to change our mind right now. And these are fake numbers, okay? The $1. It's not a 1 for 1. It's not if someone were to sell and it changes the exact amount. Right now, it feels that way because of how we are positioned. This is what it really is. Those are those same numbers put in this graph. That is fully exponential. Okay? This means that what happens, if you notice those numbers, okay, that as we got to a certain tipping point, which was in about 2 billion, and actually you can see it's actually right around here. So at this point right in here, this was our 4 billion mark, 2 billion, here's our 2 billion mark, then shoots up exponentially at this last bit. So at 2 trillion tokens sold, bought, then becomes super exponential. This is what we've seen overall. Okay, I have no idea if you can even see my mouse moving around or if I'm doing that completely on my own. But in this mark is where we start to see it totally shoot up. It's at around that 3 trillion, 2 trillion tokens. Okay, that is amazing. This is why we need to start adding all of our liquidity. This is why we need to stop selling out of the pool and make it more scarce. So that said, we do that. And there we are. This is exactly how we do it. And it's funny how often you see these little graphs and you see these GIFs and that have, to the moon, they're very flat and they shoot up, but that's actually how it works. But we need to come together to do it. Okay. So when can this happen? This is the part that got me really mad. In just the last 7 days. I did this as a very rough number because I really just scrolled through. So don't count this as an exact number. But in the last 7 days, there were 1.3 trillion tokens bought. Let me rephrase that. In the last 7 days, there were 1.3 trillion tokens bought. That means that we are, if no one sold a single token, we are less than 2 weeks away from that 2 trillion, 2.5 trillion tipping point, hitting into the 3 trillion. So I'm going to back up, going back to my slides. Where were we here? At 1.3, look at what it would cost. See if at 1.3 trillion isn't even much, $155,000 worth of money going in, but that would double 44% our current price. So that's really not that much to be able to get us back over that zero, eat that next zero for good, right? And then it becomes exponential from there. That is not very much, okay? What you'll notice though, again, going back to the example, there we go. We're the bucket people right now. We are just the bucket people. We have to stop being the bucket people. If this is where holding helps, because this only works. These are net sales, right? So this means we have to have that many tokens sold or bought beyond the number that are sold. I'm going to rephrase that. More bought the number of sold. So understanding if we all took a pledge that there would be 0 sales, like literally everyone said, I'm going to not sell a single token for 7 days, we would have 1.3 trillion taken from that pool. And do you realize what kind of FOMO would start to happen? Do you realize the eyes that would start to see what we're doing? We need to band together and hold, okay? This is where I want to then kind of put a few things into perspective again for everybody. Let me pull out of here. Boom. All right. So let's look at this in true perspective. Okay. When I went back and we had that $84 billion in that it would cost, because of the price change, in order to buy off every single token left remaining prior to a buy-sell. Just to understand that means that if we were to have, and I'm not going to count burn. Burn changes this, and it's complex, and it's hard to see how burn, because burn's not really, because it happens on buys and sells, but let's pretend that burn didn't exist. The available token amount, and you divide that into the $84 billion that would be in our pool because of how much was bought, means that our value of our token would be 1/1000th of a penny per token. So in other words, if you own 1 billion tokens, or every billion you own is worth $1 million when we reach the point where there's none in the bucket and we are all buying and selling off a stand. And by the way, every major exchange would pick us up at that point. Like literally every major exchange, we would be everywhere if we ever got to that point, because look at how much we would have. Not just in the billion club, we're the multi-billion club. There's no doubt that we'd be on every exchange. We would be a buy-sell type of token. And we have the roadmap to do that. But look how much power this is for us to do this. Okay, if we all banned it and everyone said, I will not sell, I will not put in a sell order, I will just let people buy. Now, granted, you're not going to get people that are going to buy $1 billion, $2 billion at a time. As you get low, you're going to need more buyers. Like right now, we have about 50,000 holders. We probably need close to 1 million holders, because you can't buy the large volume. But put this into perspective: every billion you own now is worth $1 million then. Let me say that again. Every billion you own now is worth $1 million then. The power for us to moon and be worth something is in our hands. Fully in our hands. And that's it. It is nobody else. So if you take and open your wallet and you just put your finger over the last 3 digits of your wallet, that's how much money you will have. If we all held together, we all hold, we shill, and we have people buy, that is how much your wallet will be worth. Then, and I didn't even get into this, I'm going to save this for another episode because I had no idea how long I was going to go on this. What happens when we get to the buy sell? Do you realize that that's how we can become the I know people like to say you want to be part of a dollar club, but what about the penny club? The penny club can get there. We can get a 10x more because it then becomes our power. We then dictate the price people can sell at once we get to that point. Could it technically go down? Absolutely. But it probably wouldn't, because then you're putting back in the bucket. So this is where, and as I'll just put here in the chat, give Poodle for Christmas. Think about it. This is the cheapest you can buy it. $50 buys someone a life-changing experience when we get to that point. Life-changing, right? And I'm going to go back to my numbers here really quick. I won't bring it up for you. But $50 is $1 billion. So that $1 billion is $1 million gift when we get to that point. $50 can be worth $1 million. And imagine that for everybody. And this is where I want you to look at your wallet and really question, how important is it that you get there? We all say we want to moon. We all say we want to be worth something. 3.3 trillion tokens is not a lot. Yes, they become harder to sell when there's less of them because it costs more for people to buy them, right? One token would be worth 1/1000th of a penny. So people are only be buying 100, 200,000 at a time, as opposed to millions and billions that you can buy now, which is why we need about 1 million holders. But you recognize, if we had somebody come in and just throw that $200,000 ish down and take away almost 2 trillion of our tokens, that's our tipping point. We are really close. We are really close. And imagine what would happen. Again, how close we would be if just someone came in, 200,000 worth. I mean, how many Bitcoin is that? 5 Bitcoin? That'd be 300,000. Literally 5 Bitcoin, 6 Bitcoin in. And all of a sudden, we are at the tipping point where our value is exponential. That's all it's going to take. We can band together to get there. Because when we get to that point, every investor is going to be watching. Every major exchange is going to be watching. Everybody will see this as a name. This will be a name brand. And now look at what we're tied with. The NFTs, with the app, all of the virtual reality, the augmented reality. This is what's important. Not only are we this close in value, just as a financial, I'm speaking of this just in financial terms, but we have utility behind us. And the launch that's coming out actually make people realize that there's value behind owning this one. And that's really important, okay? I hope you're encouraged by what I said today. It was weird because I think how many times I messed up the words millions and billions. Like billion, we are close to the billion club. We can get there, and we got to hold. And then I know it's hard for people to hold. I know when people say, oh my gosh, I put in $100, now that 100's worth 1,000 or that 100's worth 10,000, I have to sell. You're hurting your own investment. If you just hold it more and you just hold it more, and we get past that to where everybody wants to pick us up. And one thing I want to say that I'm proud about our administrative team, to Sasha, to everybody who's in this, we're not just going out there and paying to be on exchanges. Exchanges will list us for free if we do this work. We don't need to pay for them. We don't need to do it. They will see the value. Investors will see the value, and they will list us. They will list us for free, and they are going to 100% want to be involved. And the money will follow. Not only that, what's going to start to happen is you'll see big money follow. We're already getting big buys. But again, our big buys are still at the 100 billion, which is not a lot right now. I know it's like when someone wants to put in, $5 or $6 grand, you think, oh, that's awesome. But let's be honest, we're going to get big money. We're going to get Wall Street money that's going to want to come in on this. And this is what they've done for other tokens that have totally taken off. We can do it. 100% we can do it. I hope this made you a little mad as well, just like it made me mad because I saw how close we are. Just that 2.5 trillion to getting us to the point where everything becomes exponential. Timing that with everything that we're releasing. So go buy up those tokens, buy them while they're cheap. Let's band together. We can do this. Hopefully this was educational for you. I know it was for me. I loved punching the numbers, and I couldn't believe it when I hit those numbers and trillion. Oh, this is cool, 80,000. And then when I saw the million mark, and I saw the 20 mark, and then I saw the billion mark. We're going to get there. As Sasha just put in the chat, we're more than a meme coin, far more. We will have our day. There's no doubt about it. And we're close. Just to recognize, we are only 3% of the available tokens. The total tokens of the entire thing, 3% away from making this happen. It's only us. Is the only reason that we haven't done it yet is because of us. We've got the greatest community on the face of the planet as far as a token. Greatest people, greatest community. Now we got to band together. We got to make sure we don't sell. We let every single person come in and say, listen, show them this numbers. Show them the numbers of what our value will be at this point, and just say, look, buy your tokens, put it away, let it ride, and you will be totally impressed with what's going to happen. So this is it. I think I've tried to end the episode about 4 times now, but I just keep talking because I'm pumped. We're all pumped. We see it. Hopefully the numbers worked for you and inspired you too. So with that being said, everyone have a great week. Yeah, buy some Poodle. Buy it while it's cheap. That's all I'm going to say. Buy it while it's dirt cheap, and give it as a gift, everyone. Again, hopefully everyone had a great Thanksgiving. If you were in the States, you have a great holiday season. Happy Hanukkah for people, and just great holidays that are coming up. And love you all, Poodle fam. Take care.